Hi everyone, I'm Edith Morales.
And I'm Valeria Angeles.
And we're seniors here at Shortridge, and today I'll be introducing Wendy Catalan Ruano. She's like the manager from Damien Center, and she's part of the Indiana Undocumented Youth Alliance. And the IUA project was created to assist youth families in Indianapolis and overcome community and educational barriers. And it is a youth-led organization that seeks to empower higher education and engaging community to demand more just humane policies that affect undocumented families. So hi, Wendy.
Hi, y'all. Thank you for having me.
So we'll start with a few questions now.
Okay, so our first question is, how does your heritage influence your work that you do today?
Well, I will be one of the persons to tell you that my heritage influences everything that I do today. I currently am the operations and outreach manager for the Damien Center. So my job, I really focus on trying to get resources and serve the Spanish-speaking community, right? So often in organizations, we don't have access to documents or representation of people that speak Spanish. And so my job includes, translating documents, talking one-on-one with people, but actually trying to do community outreach, which means understanding the experiences that people live in the community, and understanding their cultural backgrounds. So that means if someone is, talking to me in Spanish, I am able to understand them and connect with them on a cultural level. And ever since high school, right? When I graduated from high school, the decisions that I made were based off of where I was at with my family, right? And that's going to be very important to all of us that are Hispanic and Latino, is that we take into consideration our families, the wishes that they have for us. And so I will say that, yes, my heritage has influenced all of the decisions that I made and why I'm so involved in the community. I'm also a community organizer. So a community organizer is the person that is out in the community and organizing community members, right? So organizing people like my mom, my aunts, uncles, my neighbors that need to understand that we are more powerful when we are together. We're more powerful when we understand one another. And so with community organizing, I focus a lot with the community that looks like me.
Yes, so how did you get started with the Undocumented Youth Alliance?
So that is a really good question. So back in 2015, all the way until 2018, I lived in Vincennes, Indiana, which is very southern, close to Evansville. And I lived there and I studied there. So when I graduated, I moved back here to Indianapolis, and I got involved with the community, right? So I had already known of the Indiana Undocumented Youth Alliance when I was in high school, right? So how I heard of them was because of scholarships. They offered scholarships to undocumented students, and at the time I didn't know that there was a larger influence of IUYA. And so when I got back to living in Indianapolis, back in 2020, if we remember, we have massive, massive protests across the country because of the killing of George Floyd. And so undocumented communities came together and said, you know what, we also have the same struggles. We also face oppression, and we also understand what it's like to live under corrupt laws and corrupt policies. So as an undocumented leader, I decided to get more involved with IUYA and actually share my experience with the community.
That makes a lot of sense. What are the benefits and costs of the work you do?
Well, every time I do something in the community, whether it's a project or it is just being involved, doing outreach, thinking of activism, right? I think of my own family. I think of things that we deserve. Currently, as a community organizer, we are organizing and campaigning for the driver's license campaign, right? So in the state of Indiana, undocumented persons aren't able to walk into the BMV and get a driver's license because they are asked for their social security number or immigration documents, which we do not have. And so I think of my family, right? I think of what does my family deserve? My parents have been here for more than 20 years and we deserve these things, right? We shouldn't have to ask for them. We demand to be treated equally and equitably. So that goes to show the reason why I'm still involved, why I still push to advocate for people like my family and myself.
Yeah. So like, what are you most proud of in your work?
What am I most proud of? Well, I didn't have when I was in high school, I didn't have plans to go to college, and that was because of my undocumented status. And I was able to go to college because I had an athletic scholarship. I ran track in high school my senior year, and then I continued to run track in college. So that opened many opportunities for me. And so I'm proud of myself for not giving up, right? As Latinos and Hispanic individuals, we face a lot of adversity, especially living in Indiana. And I'd say that these adversities don't define us. They don't define who we are as people. We are resilient. We are strong people. And so I'm very proud that I was able to continue my studies and just really do everything that I set my mind to.
It's a good example of not giving up, and especially with the limits you had. What can people at our school get involved or go into this line? Or how can people at our school get involved or go into this line of work?
So with the work that I do, obviously I didn't have a degree. Obviously I didn't have experience of organizing people before. What I brought to the movement and to Ayuya and Cosecha, Indiana was my experience, right? My experience as an undocumented person, as a person that is a minority, right? And understanding that all of those things that identify me make me who I am. And so I brought those experiences, and that's what we need from you all, those that are in high school that are navigating their college experience, is, you know, thinking of all of the adversities that you all face on a day-to-day basis and speaking up about it, being powerful, being loud about it. So we don't require any type of experience, right? I think as long as you care about what you're involved in, that's all you need. And that's all we needed to continue to be a very strong movement here in Indiana. And currently with Ayuya, we have a social justice mentorship program that's available for high school students and students that recently graduated. This program will serve as a mentorship program, so you will gain a mentor, gain resources, any tips or just guidance to get into college, to navigate other systems, right? Sometimes we still are trying to figure out what we want to work in, the careers we want to explore. So the mentorship program will serve that. And I think our applications are open until the 25th. So that's, I think, Sunday. So I encourage you all to look at that, especially if you are someone that is undocumented or someone that has undocumented parents. You can find that application on our website, which is ayuya.org, super easy, iuya.org. And then you'll be able to navigate the website and find the mentorship program on there.
That's great. And how has this all affected your life?
How has all of this affected my life? Well, I will say that where I'm at right now, I'm very happy because of my career and because of community organizing. I've been able to come across a really good scholarship that brought me back to school. So I'm currently in school right now and studying something that I really love to do, which is sustainable management and policy. No, there's no telling yet what I'll be doing with this degree, but I know that I really love what I'm doing, and I love that I get to still be in the community while still being in school. Also, you know, I'm learning more about our struggles. I'm learning more about what our communities deserve. And so as I'm learning that, I'm also learning how to address needs in the community.
I think that's a very good example of just pursuing what you do like and not giving up on it. So what were your highest and lowest when working with, I think you said it's called Ayuya?
Well, I've been with Ayuya a little over 2 years now, and we have been around since 2011. So back in 2011, the reason why Ayuya was formed was because there was a bill called HB 1402 that was enacted, and this bill basically pushed undocumented students to the side and said, y'all don't qualify for in-state tuition, right? And we all know that as high school students, we look at these resources to go to school, and so this limited a lot of undocumented students to seek higher education. But we understood that it wasn't just that, right? Like, we need to fight for all of the other things that affect us, right? Not having a driver's license. If you're undocumented, you don't have a driver's license. Not having access to in-state tuition, lacking work opportunities, also being afraid, right? Experiencing the feeling of being afraid and asking for help. So Ayuya is there to do that, right? I'm assuming that the co-founders at that time were still navigating how Ayuya was going to look at the time, but what is it now, 10 years later, Ayuya has become really big in the community. Folks do reach out to Ayuya for guidance, for help. And so that is very rewarding. That is the good part of being part of this, is understanding that communities feel safe with Ayuya, that we do represent our communities, right? All of us that are organizing with Ayuya and our directors with Ayuya, we understand what it's like to not have resources, or we understand what it's like to walk into a building and not see someone that looks like you and having to navigate that process.
Yeah, so what type of soft skills do you think a student would need to become a mentor?
So just to clarify, students would become mentees, right? So mentors would be provided by the mentorship program. And so to become, I guess, a mentee, all that we require is that you're in high school, come from an immigrant or undocumented status, right? So either you're someone that is undocumented yourself, your parents are undocumented, or you understand the undocumented experience, right? So you may have a friend or a loved one that you've witnessed their struggles as an undocumented person, and you'd like to be part of the program, to be someone of help in the community.
Yeah, and what responsibilities do you have in your position?
Well, in my position, it's unique. It looks different every day, and that's the beauty of being part of an organization, is that when you do go to, I don't want to say work, because you serve in a community organization. You serve people, right? You serve people with needs. So every day is very different, depending on what our goal is. We try to navigate that. So my job consists of actually like tabling at festivals or community events. I do take, and this is just to get down to like the nitty-gritty of what I do. I sometimes go to events or conferences where I learn more in my career. So that maybe includes taking interpretation trainings. So that includes like hours of learning and defining interpretation, right? At our health organization, we have clients that come in that don't speak English, and so sometimes we as certified interpreters have to help them on the spot, but actually make sure we're doing our work correctly. So which is why we take interpretation trainings. I also serve on our DEI committee at my job. So I think we all understand DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So this makes sure that the workplace is fair, is just, is equitable. We try to look at practices and cultures that can uplift our workplace, right? We don't want it to feel like, oh, I'm going to work another day. Like, no, we actually want to experience what it's like to feel appreciated, to feel loved, feel seen at work. So we work a lot on those practices to keep our workplace safe. Yeah, those are some of the responsibilities I could think of off the top of my head.
Okay, so I know you mentioned that you like your job, or excuse me, your service. Did you always think this was going to be your pathway in life, or is this just something that you found into or came into and then ended up actually liking it and stayed in?
That is a really good question, and I appreciate that question, because when you plan out your life, I'm not saying it's not gonna happen. It'll happen if you put your mind to it. But when you work on being a better person, you're gonna end up in places that you can't imagine. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And that was the case for me. I didn't know what a nonprofit organization was when I was in high school. Neither did I understand like community work, what it was like to go and speak to community members. And it wasn't until I actually got my job. So do you both know what housekeeping is, like in hotels when someone is a housekeeper?
Yeah.
So I was a manager, a housekeeping manager at a hotel. And so I worked a lot with women, mostly women, right, that spoke Spanish, women that were had several needs, right? And so personally, I said, my job, I can't fulfill these needs, right? Like I have my only job here is to make sure that the rooms are clean, but I wanted to do more with my life and actually serve their families holistically. So again, it was not the plan, but I'm very happy where I'm at, and I hope to continue to grow in my career.
Yeah, and what do you think the school students that are in ELL need to be successful?
Yes, that's a really good question as well. Communicating is so important, especially working with clients and working with community members. Communicating is a way to understand how someone is feeling, right? And to also understand that you can grow and build trust with someone. So I would encourage, EL students to put communication first, right? Do try to take on workshops. There are many opportunities across the city. There are workshops that are led by the Indianapolis Public Library as well. If you look up those resources online, they offer workshops to just become a better communicator. So I would say that to actually get involved in the free resources that are out in the community, but also making yourself a better person so that when you do go on in the real world, in the community, you feel very confident and you feel confident in what you have already learned.
Yeah, and how do you see your company evolving in the next 5 years?
Yes, so I am going on 2 years being at the Damien Center, and we have already grown so much. Currently, we have a program called the OLA program, and the OLA program is a group of bilingual individuals. All of us that are on the team are bilingual. We speak English and Spanish, read and write English and Spanish, right? So currently we are doing our daily duties, but we envision the Damien Center to be more active in the community, right? We understand that that addressing health issues in our communities is very hard, right? Because we grew up probably not being able to seek a doctor or understanding what it's like to get medicine that's prescribed to you, right? So we want to be able to educate, and I say that very, very, very loud, to educate our communities on what it's like to seek medical care, seek health care, and to do it without these stigmas of like, oh, what are people going to say if I go and get tested at the Damien Center? It should be normalized to care about your status, to care about your health. And in the future, I hope that our program could actually bring that to the community.
Great. So we've heard a lot about you saying that what you do, you tend to think a lot about your family. Does your personal life have any effect of what you do today?
Yes, so I have DACA, that's Deferred Action Childhood Arrivals, right? So not to get too political here because the conversation is not supposed to be political, but having a work authorization definitely does impact my life, right? Like that is all I have as an undocumented individual. I don't have the right to vote. I don't have the right to leave the country, and I don't have the right to run for any public office or anything like that. So with that being said, I do take my experiences into account and others that have similar positions like myself, and we do try to form ourselves, organize ourselves, but look past that, right? Who cares if we can't vote? Who cares if we can't leave the country? We're here to we're going to stay here, and we're going to advocate for one another and remind and demand what we actually deserve as residents here in Indiana.
Yeah, and also before we're done, is there any advice you would like to give to undocumented students or anything else you would like to add?
So I'm really big on like personal development and taking every moment, appreciating every moment that you have in your academic career. But I know high school is a very tough part of your life, right? Because you're trying to figure out, well, what's my next step? You may stress yourself out, staying up late at night, wondering, where am I going to go after this? What am I going to do, right? But I will tell you that when you work on yourself, on your individual self, all that other stuff doesn't matter, right? Always work on being a better person. When you become a better person, and as I stated, you will be in spaces that you couldn't even imagine, right? You'll be in places that you didn't even think of 2 years ago. So be patient, take on new habits. If you're a procrastinator, if you're someone that waits till the last minute, start challenging yourself to be a better person. That way, when you're older in your life, those challenges aren't a problem. But I do wish you all the best this rest of the school year, and I know y'all will do great because y'all are already great. But continue to practice new habits. Let's say that.
I think that's very good advice. We appreciate that very much, especially because I know a lot of us in this school do connect with that spot of having undocumented parents, or some of us actually being undocumented students actually here and struggling with that, or having that in the back of our mind. We do want to thank you for joining us, Wendy. We really do appreciate your words and time today. We appreciate you having here, especially while we are celebrating our Hispanic Heritage Month. And just overall, thank you for your words and advice today.